Hi, this is Nikki from Little Blue Artworks and welcome to the Needle Felt a Mouse in a Pumpkin tutorial. To start our project today, we're going to have a needle felting pad out here and our 3 needle felting needles. If you're using the needles from my kits, you'll find 3 inside. I've got one color coded in green. This is the size 32 and it's the size large. And then I've got a medium sized needle here, color coded in pink. And this is a gauge 36. And then a gauge 38. This is color coded in red and it's a size small. If you've never needle felted before, let's have a look quickly at the needle felting needle up close. You can see the needle has a very sharp point and it's triangular in shape, and each side of that triangle is 3 small barbs, and those barbs face down towards the point of the needle, so there's 9 altogether. As you push the sharp end of the needle through the fibres of the wool, these barbs begin to hook onto the wool and mat them together, and repeatedly doing this felts them together, and this is the felting process. Right, to start our project today, we're going to use around about 20 grams of this core wool here, and we're going to bundle that up into a bit of a ball shape. So what I'm going to do is just put my hand in the middle and start tucking in the sides, and then put my hand back over, tucking in the sides under my hand there in the middle until we've got a little bit of a ball shape there, or a pumpkin shape. And then I'm just going to hold on to the top to hold those ends together and begin to needle felt in around my hand, being very careful there. I'm going to use my large felting needle, this is color coded in green, and just start to push through the fibres of the wool. This will begin to get them to hold together. And once you've done one side, you can then just turn it. I'm going to concentrate on another side. And then turn it again and keep turning it and just stabbing through with your bit large felting needle until that kind of holds together into a little bit of a pumpkin shape. Now I've gone round all the outside, that begins to hold together there. You can see the bottom and that's the top. So now the top parts are quite sticky uppy, so I'm just going to bundle them together and shove them down with my finger in the middle there. And then very carefully, going around my finger, begin to push down those excess fibres. Stab them into the pumpkin shape to felt them down. Once you've done one part, you can remove your finger and then just begin to stab those parts in as well until that flattens down a little bit like so. Now I'm just going to begin concentrating on the shape. We've got that holding together nicely now. I need to smooth it out a little bit, so if any of the bits are sticking up, that's where you need to concentrate in felting them down. So I'm coming down both this way, but I'm going to come down to the sides this way as well. You can always pop it up on the side this way to concentrate on the sides of the pumpkin and just getting that into a bit of a bun shape at the moment. So I'm just turning and felting on the sides there, just to push that together in this way, because we don't want a flat pancake. So continue to do this all the way around, and then we'll concentrate back on the top there and on the bottom if you need to as well. The bottom of the pumpkin is going to be generally quite flat, So I'm just giving that a general stab down all over. Now we've got that general kind of bun shape going on. I'm going to concentrate on the top a little bit more here, and I want this to come down here where my finger is, right in the middle. So I'm going to do some really big stabbing there in a circle right in the very top of the pumpkin. This is where the stalk's going to sit eventually. And there we go. We've got our general pumpkin shape with a little bit of a dent there in the top for the stalk. And it's fairly firm, but also got a little bit of a squish left in it because we still got to carve out the lines in the pumpkin that's going to come down. And we're also going to be carving out a little hole for the mouse head to be popping out later. So it does still have a little bit of a squish to it, but it is firmly held together now and felted nicely. So next we're just going to add a little bit of colour. And here I've got this lovely colour, which I think is really nice for a pumpkin. It's kind of like a little bit of a burnt orange colour, so it's not too bright, and it's got a hint of brown in it as well. So it's a nice autumn colours. So what I'm going to do is just peel off a little bit at a time. I'm just going to spread that out with my fingers. And then I'm just going to attach it on with my medium needle, which is colour coded in pink. This is a size 36. And I'm just holding that onto the pumpkin like so, and just gently tapping that on, and that should attach on nicely. And once you've got that part attached on, just going to take some more and continue just to colour this all over, including the bottom and right in the top there. Just bit by bit, attaching that on, and I'll speed this part up. So now we've got that attached on, I'm just going to go over with my medium needle, and I'm just going to smooth down the surface by just going over everything one more time, just to give that a really nice finish. I'm just using a double needle here that I made myself with 2 medium needles and a little bit of polymer clay. This just helps to speed things up a little bit. Now we've got that into a nice smooth ball shape with our little indent in the top. We're going to add some pumpkin character now by making our lines down from the top all the way to the bottom. So I'm going to use my large felting needle. This is the size 32, color coded in green. And I'm just going to make a small shape in the very bottom of the pumpkin, so a little circle there, just so I know where my lines are going to from the top to the bottom. It doesn't have to be a huge indent, just something small. So just stabbing a little circle there in the middle. There we go. So now we're going to be drawing our lines from the top to the bottom. Now there are different ways to do this. You could start off making it as a cross, so you're felting down this way all the way down to the bottom, and then this way all the way down, and then this way and this way, and then make it in from quarters into eighths. But the way I'm going to be doing it is in 6 parts. So I'm going to draw a line all the way from the top here all the way round on both sides all the way to the bottom to start with, and then I'm going to divide it up into thirds from that point there. So starting with one line, I'm just going to start felting down a line with my large needle, and I'm stabbing quite hard to get that to really come in. You might need to go over the line a few times. And then you can use your needle to map it out before you actually go ahead and make your line. So I'm just going to make some dots there, just so I know where I'm going. And then it's just a case of joining up the dots. So as I said, you might need to go over that line a few times just to get that really showing up nicely and creating that line and that indent quite deeply in there, especially in the sides here. And then we're going to go ahead and do the line on the other side. So directly opposite from that, I'm coming down this way with my large needle. I'm going to make some dots just to map it out. Going to come all the way to here and join them together. Now I'm just going to go over that line. There we go. And after doing that line, if you find any parts just needing a little bit of topping up of the orange wool, you can go ahead and just patch over that area. It's a little bit thinning here, so I'm going to use back to my medium needle and just tap that in gently to cover that little bit up. It's a little bit sparse there with the orange wool. And I'm just gently tapping that on. No need to be doing big stabs while you're attaching it. There we go. So now I've got that divided into halves. I'm going to divide each half into 2/3. So here where my needles are, it will be coming from the middle there down each side. So I'm going to use one needle there just to map out where I'm going. And then with the other needle here, I'm going to start felting down into that line. And then I can do the same with this one over here. You can just use any felting needle just to help guide you to get that bit started. And I'm going to go on the bottom and also do the same. So I'm going to have a line coming this way and a line coming this way. Now we're just going to match up the top and the bottom. So I'm going to look for a place to map out, just drawing my dots so it can come all the way to the bottom here. Same with this one. There we go. And then just join them together. And now I'm just going to do exactly the same on the bottom half here, popping that into thirds with our large felting needle. And remember, you can make little dots to join them up if you need to help you. Now I've done all the lines of the pumpkin. I'm just going to go over that hole right in the top there, that little indent where the stalk's going to go. I really just felt that down a little bit more. So there's lots of space for a stalk to be held in there. Okay, so now we've got our shape all sorted and our colour all on. I'm going to pick one of these segments of the pumpkin for the mouse to be coming out, and I'm going to make a little hole there for him. So it's best to pick the biggest one that you can find. So I'm going to pick this one here. It seems to be my largest one. And right in the middle, between the top and the bottom, I'm going to make a little hole and indent in here. I'm just going to use my largest needle again, the 32, and just start stabbing in a round circle to begin with. And then I'm really going to stab quite hard to make that a little indent in there for the little mouse head to be coming out. And there we go, that's our pumpkin all shaped nicely, ready to be adding some extra pieces onto our make. And next I'm going to show you how to make the pumpkin stalk. So I have here about 1 or 2 grams of this kind of mottled dark brown colour, which I'm going to use. It's got a nice natural blend of some greys and some kind of reddy browns to it. You can choose whatever colour you want for your stalk or your pumpkin. It's really up to you. You can go for greys or oranges or browns, even white pumpkins. But this is what I have here, so I'm just going to start making up the stalk. So what I'm going to do is just spread that out a little bit on my felting mat into a little bit of a length there, and then all I'm going to do is just start rolling that up. Once I've got about halfway through the roll, I'm going to then just take a little bit on the top there and fold that over my finger. That's going to be for the top of the stalk, and then continue to roll that. So I like it a little bit thicker just at the very top to give that a nice finished look, because that will come down like so. So holding that on my felting mat, I'm going to use my green needle, my large needle, and very carefully begin felting that in one place. And then moving my fingers down, begin felting that all the way down the length. It will stick to your felting mat at this point, so then you can just go up and down the length until that begins to hold. But you don't want a flat stalk, so you're going to take that off your felting mat, pop it on its side, and then go up and down the length again, being careful of your fingers and thumb. And then turning again. And then turning again. Now I want quite a solid stalk, so I'm going to continue felting this up and down and turning as I go, especially in between those two parts that we've just done. So I'm felting quite hard because I want this to come together nicely. Once I've got a general shape happening there, a little bit of a roll between your hands there to help not only smooth it down, but just help with the shape of the stalk become a little bit more rounded. Now this being the top of my stalk, I'm going to start felting in this way a little bit, flattening that down. This will be at the top of the stalk where it gets cut. And I quite like it being a little bit wider than the rest of the stalk. So you can always hold it this way as well, but you need to be very, very careful not to go through and into your fingers. So I'm just doing little taps there, just little pushes with the needle. Back on my felting mat. And you can always come down this way as well, just to felt the rest of the stalk into the top of that part of the stalk. Turning as I go. And there we go, that's the top of the stalk. Now this is still a little bit squishy, so I'm just going to go over it a few more times. A little bit of a roll there, And then I've left these parts at the bottom nice and fluffy. This is where this is going to be attaching onto our pumpkin. So all I'm going to do is just spread that out a little bit and just fan that out into a little bit of a circle. And that's going to be plopped right there, right in the middle of the pumpkin. And if you push that down, that's going to go in the indent that we made in our pumpkin earlier. So I'm going to use my large felting needle just to go around the bottom of the stalk there. And I'm going right through the stalk and into that indent in the pumpkin to attach. Obviously being careful of your thumb and fingers here. So I'm going right inside here. All the way around. Now that stalk's nicely felted into position. All these extra bits of fluff there, I'm just going to make them come down a little bit into the little indents of the segments. So I'm just going to pull these bits of wool down this way. Make a nice little detail on our pumpkin. If you've got too much, you can just pull that off. There we go. Now I'm going to use my large felting needle, holding the end there down in the indent. I'm just going to start felting that in there, all the way to the top, and then go on to the next one. All the way to the top. And then in between those two parts there, I'm just going to felt that down into a bit of a rounded top. So that segment, rather than having a sharp point to it, has now got a little bit of a rounded point, and it's coming down and into the bottom of the stalk there. So carry on just felting down into the grooves there, into the top, and then between each segment, coming down, rounding that off. You can use your needle to guide the wools to make that into a nice arch at the top there. And carry on all the way around. And there we go. There's our lovely stalk on. And you can have it just sticking up like so, or you can have it bending over to the side. If you want it bending over to the side, if you just hold it down like so and grab your medium needle, and I'm just going to felt there in the bend. So gently felting through into that bend. You can even use your felting mat to get in on the inside of that bend as well. So I'm just holding it in the shape with my thumb there, and then just coming in on the inside, that part there. And back to this way. There we go. That's holding nicely in shape, so we've got a little bit of a bend on it there, if you like that look. And next we're going to move on to making our cute little pumpkin mouse. So I have here about 1 gram or just under 1 gram here of some white carded batting. And this wool is really nice and easy to felt with. So we're going to make the mouse head with this, and how we're going to do it is a little bit like the stalk. We're going to just lay it out flat and lengthen it a little bit there, and then we're going to start to roll it. And then on the left side here, I'm actually going to, because I'm going to make the right side the nose of the mouse, so the left side here, I'm just going to fold that over in half and then begin to roll that up again. Now this means that one side is going to be thicker than the other side. I've got quite a lot here, so I'm just going to peel off some of that excess wool just to take it down a little bit in length. And this will once felted down, should be thick on one side and then thinner where the nose is coming in there. So I'm going to use my medium needle to do this, and I'm being very careful of my fingers there. I'm just going to start felting that up and down while I'm holding it on the felting mat, including the very ends there where it's all wispy. And taking it off my mat, I'm going to turn it and kind of bundle it and hold it together into a little bit of a head shape, and then begin to felt in between my fingers. This is a little bit more tricky, so you might want to use finger protectors for this part here, or just some plasters on your fingers, or just be extra special careful while you're felting, maybe just pushing rather than stabbing near your fingers so you know exactly where that needle's going. And then continue to turn and felt all the way around. Once that's beginning to hold together, I'm just going to give it a little rub between my hands there into that kind of cone shape. So we've got one end that's going to be the nose and one end's going to be the back of the head. Now at the moment it's holding its shape, but it's still got a lot of squish to it, so it can still be molded down into a little bit of a better shape. So what I want to do is felt in this way just to bring the back of the head forward a little bit, and then felt in back this way to bring the nose in a little bit too. It's a little bit pointed at the moment, so I'm just going to felt it gently down with my medium needle. You can always go down to your very finest needle, the small one, which is color coded in red. That's a size 38. It will take a little bit longer, but it's easier to work on smaller shapes with the smaller felting needles, but I'm just using my medium at the moment. So I'm just felting quite gently down to where the nose will be. So it's a kind of rounded cone shape we're going for. So that's nicely rounded there, and as I said, I'm going to come in back this way in the back of the head just to bring that down a bit. It's also going to enlarge and widen the head a little bit and just bring down the length, because it was quite a lengthy head, which will end up making it look a little bit more ratty than mousy. So we just want to get that head smaller. So I'm just turning as I'm working on the back of the head there, and then coming in again on the sides. Every now and again you can give it a little bit of a rub and a push together. Now I've got the length sorted, so I've got a nice back there to where the back of the head's going to be, and a nice little rounded point there where the nose is going to be. It's still a little bit large. I'm just checking it out for size here on my pumpkin. I'm still finding that's a little bit large, so I'm just going to felt round all the middle there and just bring that down in size a little bit. So just felting and turning, just like in the start. Now I've got the size sorted out and the shape sorted out, I'm just felting on the back of the head here. I'm just felting that down so it's got a little bit of a groove around it. You don't need to do this, but for me it just gives the shape of the face something, so it's sort of coming back into a neck area. So it'll be the neck area that's going to be inside the indent of the pumpkin itself. So it's just helping me shape the head a little bit, because it was quite a bit of a length. So that's taken down the length of the head just a little bit for me, and then this neck part will just sit inside the pumpkin, and that'll be the part that we can attach to the inside of the pumpkin. And I'm just going to look at that for size, and that's much better. And if you want, you can go back into there and just make sure there's enough room in there for the head to sit inside. Again, using your large needle to do this. Just going to make an extra little indent for the neck area that I've just made. There we go. So that's nicely sized, and I'm happy with that. So next we're going to add some details to the mouse. Go back to my medium needle here, or using your very smallest needle, which is color coded in red. We're going to start adding bits of the face to the mouse. Now I'm going to start here with a little bit of pink for the nose, and it really is just a very, very small amount there, even smaller than that, so just that to fit on the tip of your finger there. And you can always wet your fingers and then roll it in to get a better grip of the wool if you want to, but I'm just rolling it in my fingers there and squishing it together into a little bit of a ball shape for its nose. So now we've got a little ball there. I'm going to pick that up with my smallest needle, which is color coded in red. I'm going to pop it there on the very end of the mouse's nose. And I'm going to use my nail to hold down one side and then just gently tap in the other side to attach. And then once that's attached, you can go in back to the first side where your nail was and get that attached in too. Being very careful next to your fingers here. There's a little nose attached, so it's starting to come together. Now if you find that's too big, you can always just pull that off and then have another go. I found mine is not quite in position, so I'm just going to move it into position and then felt that where it should be. Just play about there until you're happy and you've got a little nose attached on the very tip there. And that should help round that off a little bit as well. And next we're going to add some eyes. So before we add the eyes, I'm going to use my medium needle here. And I'm going to make two little eye sockets. So the first one's going to be here, just a little ways from the nose, maybe just about 1 centimetre from the nose. I'm going to make a little eye socket with my medium needle. So I'm just felting gently a little area where the eye is going to be sitting inside. And then in the middle of that socket, I'm just going to push the needle so I've got a hole there. This is for the stem of the eye to sit into. I'm just going to leave that in there while I get my eyes. So I've got some 4mm felting eyes here. Now I've got them out, I'm just going to push the needle in and out a few times to make room for the stem. And that should just pop straight in, pushing it all the way in so it sits inside that little eye socket we made earlier. And I'm just checking out how that looks. Pretty cute. So now we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Try and get it in a similar position, but on the other side of the face there. Again, just pushing in a hole for the stem of the eye to go into. Push it all the way in. Make sure the other one hasn't popped out. And there we go. Two little cute mousy eyes. Isn't he looking adorable already? All he needs now is some little mousy ears. We'll move on to that part next. So moving on to our little mousy ears, I'm just going to take a small pinch of some white carded wool here, the same that we used for the head, and I'm just going to pop that on my felting mat. And you might want to take away for the second ear around about the same size. So I'm just going to pop that to the side. I'm going to use my medium felting needle And what I'm going to do is try and felt a flat little arch. So I've just flattened that out on my felting mat, which might be a little hard to see because it's white. But you can see my finger there on the wool itself. And what I'm going to do is just start tucking the wool under my finger in the shape of my finger. Just roughly, don't worry too much about it. So now my finger's got a little bit of a halo around it there of white wool. I'm just going to start coming in at the top first by just gently pushing through the wool around my finger just to begin getting that shape. And then you can just pull your finger down a little bit and then get a little bit more in there and then pull your finger down a little bit more. So now you should have a little bit of an arch shape. You can always pull in the sides a little bit more with your finger once you've got the first draft done, just to continue to get that arch shape sorted. So now we've got a flat arch shape on my felting mat. I'm just going to felt it all over. This will stick to your felting mat, so be careful taking it off, but I'm going to try and get that nicely felted as much as I can before I then take it off gently, and then I'm going to do the other side. And once I've got both sides done, I'm just gently tapping over one side again just to flatten that out rather than going all the way through and felting it onto the mat again. I'm just tapping gently on the surface just to smooth that down a little bit. Now we've got a little bit of an ear shape there. I'm going to make that a little bit puckered, so I'm going to put my thumb there in the middle with the arch at the top and just the fluffy bit sticking down the bottom. So my fingernail there in the middle, and then I'm just going to fold in each side so that it comes together like so. Now I want that to be attached together on either side, so I'm just holding it and then popping it on its side on the felting mat. And then I'm just going to go and felt those two sides together. On both sides. And there we go. Now you can even come in by holding it together like this, come in this way a little bit, just to get the inside of that ear really nicely felted, so you can really see that indent happening there. And just to add an extra bit of detail, I'm going to take some of the pink wool, just a very, very small amount, just to help colour the inside of the ear there. So that's a very, very small amount we've got there. So I'm just going to pop that on there, and then you can use your medium or your smallest needle just to attach that on. And I'm going to do this gently because if you push all the way through, it's going to have pink bits sticking out the back of the ear, which you don't want. So I'm just going to gently tap with my needle to attach that on, especially the inside of the ear, and I'm not going all the way through, so it's a little bit more tricky. Just tapping on the surface to attach that little pinky colour on. And that's one ear done. That's going to look really cute on our mouse. So we're going to go ahead and do the other ear first before we touch them on, and I'll speed this part up. And there we go, two little cute mousy ears already to be attached onto the head here. So I'm going to take our first ear. I'm going to take the flat part, which is this part and this part here, and attach it through the flat part onto the side of the head this way. So you can see that the ear is facing forward at the top of the head. Holding it on the felting mat, you can use your medium or your small needle to do this. I'm using my medium, and I'm just gently pushing through that flat part and into the head for it to attach. And that's the ear attached on. All these extra little bits there, I'm just going to tap them on gently so they're not sticking out. Now, I don't want the ear sticking straight up like this. I'm just going to push it back down this way a little bit and then felt through this side and the back of the ear. So we've got that ear facing forward like so. And just position it how you need it to be. I'm just combing out some of these excess fibres on this side just to smooth out the look of the ear between the new fibres of the ear onto the head. So I'm just brushing gently to blend that in together. And then you can always come in the inside of the ear as well to firmly felt that and attach that on, and just gives that an extra added detail to the inside of the ear. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the other ear on this side. Now I've done the back of those ears as well, just to firmly attach them on. I'm going to see how this is looking now. So there he goes. He's sitting in there quite nicely, but we are going to attach him in. Now it's up to you if you just want him poking at his head straight like so, or if you want him slightly inquisitively turning slightly to the side. I'm going to have mine just slightly to the side like so. So it's just got a little bit of a cute look to it. So I'm just going to hold that firmly down inside the bit of the pumpkin that we made there. And either with your large or your medium needle, I'm going to go in the very side of the mouse's head and right through and into that pumpkin. So I'm doing lots of long stabs there to get that to hold in. One part there done. Just going to do underneath. All the way around. There we go. That's him attached on, and isn't he just so cute? Now, just to finish that off, we're going to add some lovely little details to our pumpkin, which I'm going to show you in this next part. So I have here some green wire, which I'm going to use to make a little tendril for our pumpkin there, and I've also got some paper craft flowers there, which I'm just going to add on as well, just to give it some finishing touches. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the green wire here, which is going to be our tendril, and right in the middle of the green wire I'm just going to wrap that around the very bottom of the pumpkin stalk there. So that's now firmly attached on. You can give that a pull, so it's got two tendrils coming on either side. And to make that curly is fairly easy. Just take a pencil or a pen, and I'm just going to start wrapping that around to make a nice little tendril curl come off there. And that's one. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. There we go. And that's two. And then in this part here where the wire comes down, I'm just going to start tucking in some of those flowers. So I'm putting the wire right through there and pulling that through. And just pushing the end down anywhere you fancy. And I'm going to put in 3 flowers just to finish that off. And because they've got bendy stalks, you can just bend them into place in any which way looks lovely to you. And there we go. There's our finished lovely little pumpkin with tendrils, flowers, and an inquisitive little felted mouse. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you'd like to try any of my other tutorials, you can find them on my website at littleblueartworks.com. I also have a range of large kits and starter mini kits to try. I also do a subscription box where you have a mystery project delivered to your door every single month, and you can sign up on that on my website. And I also have some up and coming workshops which you can check out also on my website, both in person and online. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube and Instagram, and you can share your finished felties on the Little Blue Felting group on Facebook. Thanks for watching.